I am presuming that you all can see us at this point. Welcome to the Here and Gone show. And I couldn't be happier here in the kitchen in Bucks County. We're going to have some fun with Fred Holman. One of my best friends is here, and he brought his bass. And we're going to play some songs, and he's going to tell some stories. And I'm just looking for the monitor, so forgive my faraway look for a minute. But if you're there in the chat room already, say hi. I'm going to throw down my tip jar here so you guys can support this endeavor. Jamie Flynn, are you in the house yet? Or are you gigging tonight? That's his excuse. He is the hardest working man in showbiz.
It's a worthy excuse.
Yeah. So nobody has checked in yet. We'll keep hanging fire until we actually see that there's... There, okay. Rob Trout's here. And Cynthia's here.
Cynthia! Hi, Cynthia.
We had a blast having dinner with you guys. Thank you so much for planning that. Nancy's here. Hi, Nancy. And the guest. What's your guest's name, Nancy? And I'll say hi to her, too. Rob has become a new friend, and I have to tell you, if you're named Rob Trout, you have no choice but to name your band the Flounders, and that's what he did. He is Rob Trout and the Flounders, which is just about the greatest name for a band I've ever heard. Rob played at Beneducci Vineyard recently. Why don't we, before we jump into the stories, let's just warm up. We'll play a little bit of a blues. I'm always talking about this blues. This one blues that James Taylor wrote, which was on his first record, is a classic to me. It's going to be in G, Fred. And it really defines an essence of what the blues is all about. Steve E. from up in New Hampshire is here.
Steve A.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna answer some of your questions, Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna bring along the orange squeezer as a show and tell, but it's back there, and right now I've missed the opportunity. I'll send you a picture.
Steve wanted to ask about your Volvo, but hold that thought. But you don't have to hold this thought. This you can answer right now. What's your all-time favorite Aztec two-step song?
Highway Song.
The Highway Song. Is that the one? The ballad of...
No, that's...
Right. That's fun to play, I imagine.
Yeah.
The first 500 times it's fun.
It's always fun.
Oh, good.
It's always fun.
Good.
Matter of fact, I listened to... You posted a clip of it.
Yeah.
And I actually played it through 3/4 of the way. I was impressed.
It's fun.
It's very good.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great clip. And Neil takes a killer guitar
Neil is
solo.
always killer. He is the heart and soul of folk music.
Jamie is here, the third part of our blues trio, the Chip, Fred, and Jamie trio. We had at least one gig, and we'll look for more. But let's do a little song. So the Highway song, sing a few bars, hum a few bars. How does the Highway song go?
That is so silly to ask me.
Oh, okay. You don't sing.
I don't even know the words to it, and I maybe have played that one 1,000 times. So
Steve, look up the Highway song by Aztec Two Step. That's Freddie's favorite.
The something was the gate was closing.
And the silver-daggered lizards went plinking through the swamp. No, okay. James Taylor, when he was 19 years old, really encapsulated something about the blues on his Apple record. it up a little bit. Yeah, baby. A tree grows in my backyard. It only grows at night. Its branches, they're all twisted, and its leaves are afraid of light. They say them blues is just a bad dream. They seem to live inside your head. When it's lonely in the morning, baby, you bound to wish you was lying dead. There's winds there on the ocean, and they're blowing where they choose. And them winds ain't got no emotion, baby. And they don't know the blues is just a bad dream. They don't know, they just live inside your head. When it's lonely in the morning, baby, you're bound to wish you was playing the blues in your kitchen with Fred Holman instead. We got the blues, yeah. Now my mind is rambling like some old rolling stone. Since that nightmare came to stay, baby, my thoughts just don't belong. They say the blues is just a bad dream. They seem to live inside your head. Ready? When it's lonely in the morning, baby, you're bound to wish you was lying. You're bound to wish you was lying dead. Yes, that warms the cockles of my heart.
Hey, Georgie. Yes, indeedy. I was telling Chip about the Echo bass, precursor to the Hofner, Italian made.
Oh, yeah.
Cynthia's brother Georgie has lent me his beautiful violin-shaped bass that actually sounds like an upright bass.
Yes, they're very woody sounding. I envy you.
Oh, and he has, like, Georgie, they probably are the original strings on there, right? And it's like, well, I mean, they are very woody. Very, I mean, the strings themselves, they're fun to play. And like that there. I'm on the other side, by the way. Everybody who watches Chip regularly, I know everybody who's been here already. I know Al is probably watching from someplace in Germany.
He's
kidding.
Yeah, he's back home.
But Jamie and but Chip has the laptop here. There's a camera, his camera phone up here, a couple of microphones. So
there's a cat.
We're looking at
behind
stuff
it.
here, and we're actually seeing ourselves on about a 5-second, 7-second delay.
Yeah, don't worry
so
about
it's-
the monitor. It'll screw you up. It'll mess with your mind.
I'm already that ship has sailed.
But that is why we sit close together. This will be a pleasure. I have questions for you. I never asked you, even all the years we've known each other, what got you into the bass? What, What did you start like some people on guitar, or did you start right away on bass?
I lived on Staten Island in the country, on South Shore. My friend had a house that they had built in the woods by a big woodsy park down there, and he had a set of drums, and so he was a drummer. He liked to play drums in the he was in the band and stuff, the marching band at the high school.
Oh, okay.
Stuff like that. I think the school orchestra. But he had a set of drums, and we used to play Louie Louie and everything else in the basement. And he was invited into a band that was 2 guitars, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, and an accordionist.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And it was they were the Progressions, and they needed a bass player. And I think I was already I had taught myself to play guitar.
Okay.
On a
how it happens
like a
often.
Stella, something like that somebody had won at a bazaar, and
great.
so I learned to play guitar, and then I just went and bought a bass, and
Do you remember what you bought?
it was something called Zimgar.
Yeah, I've actually heard that name.
Zimgar was crazy. It must have been one of the first Japanese basses back in
Yeah,
that day, and cheap as could be as far as the sound, anything. But it got me through gigs, and I got a little amplifier that I only just sold it recently, and it had it was an Ampeg it wasn't the B15. It was before that. There's a
my
different
gosh.
appellation to it. But we actually had gone. My father once took me across the bridge to Linden, where the Ampeg factory was, and
knew?
we went in on a Saturday, and the factory was shut, and the person who answered the bell came to let us in was the president of the company, this famous guy
that's
who
hilarious.
invented the electric upright, a bass that I eventually had with a scroll.
Yeah,
a
I
scroll
saw
top.
those. I saw those.
The EB3, I think it was, or something like that. And but anyway, we played high school dances and stuff like that, and then well, that's the beginning. I mean,
Let's
one
look at
thing
this
leads
bass
to
for a minute,
another.
because this has a meaning.
I don't know if that's
Steve,
in the.
this is a bass that Fred bought at Russo's. Did you say? Or Rondo's?
Rondo.
Rondo.
Yeah.
Steve's brother Rick brought Steve to Rondo
In Union.
in Union
Yeah.
on Route 22 to buy his first guitar,
Yeah.
which was a Gibson acoustic, as I recall.
Yeah, they had nice.
George
they had
says
nice
it's
things.
original strings on that.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Jamie is
EKO.
Yeah, Jamie reminded me today that you, me, Jamie, his wife Lorraine, and Jamie's dear departed mom jammed in his garage.
We did.
One time.
I do remember that.
And his mom played some awesome Bill Evans inflected.
That is
piano.
right. That's right.
We're going to do
When it
another
goes
song.
back.
And here's a
Okay.
good one. We never even rehearsed this. I haven't played it live in years, and I just thought, what song by James Taylor have I not done? And one of the great album cuts off of Sweet Baby James. I'll just do the intro. See if you remember it. F. When I walk along your city streets and look into your eyes, when I see that simple sadness that across your features lies, if my spirit starts to sing, it comes as no surprise. I've come a long way from anywhere, like heaven to this town, your town. slipping by, and neither do I know. If my spirit starts to sink, well, it comes as no surprise. I've come a long way from anywhere, like heaven to this town, your town. Yeah, baby. You got to love it. You don't play a song for 30 years and then you remember it against all odds.
Nicely done.
Because
Chip.
we
Very
had,
nicely done.
we injected the caffeine directly into the vein.
Only one cup.
Gary Steber was there at that. No, Jamie, Gary was not there at that garage jam. I beg to differ. We did jam with him in your basement one time. Hi, Denise. It's good to see you in the chat room. Where do you live again, Denise? I have forgotten where you moved to. Steve E says that's where you bought the gold top. Wow, that was my first electric guitar. I bought it off of Steve Philp. Let's look back here. Jamie bought his first drum set there, and there was a rumor for years that Al Aronowitz, who lived in Basking Ridge or Berkeley Heights, actually, Al Aronowitz had Dylan over to that house in Berkeley Heights, and he claims that Dylan wrote Mr. Tambourine Man in his breakfast nook. Al Aronowitz was known as kind of a BS artist, but then people said that he brought Dylan to Rondo's to buy that Sunburst Strat that he went electric with. I don't believe that because Dylan has said, I think that he bought it at Manny's in New York, which makes more sense.
It does.
I have told this story so many times, and I've probably flubbed it up. But you were in the great classic 60s band McKendree Spring, and before I even knew you, I saw you playing with McKendree Spring on the very first Don Kirshner's rock concert. And I remember when we first met, I said, Fred, I saw you played on the back of a flatbed train, and there was a beautiful canal there. And I said, where was that? Montreux, Switzerland? And you were like, Chip, that was New Hope, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. But tell the story of McKendree Spring you guys owned a plane.
No.
Oh, you did?
No, we rented a plane.
Okay, you rented a plane.
Rented a plane.
Tell that story.
Yeah. Well, we're flying to a gig from. We lived in Ithaca, and so we flew out of Tompkins Airport with in a little plane that was about smaller than the kitchen, less wide than the kitchen, and so it was where actually it's opposite. So let's see, where I guess the pilot and McKendree were up front in the co-pilot seat, the pilot co-pilot, and then there was the other guitar player, and then myself behind them, and then Dreyfuss was the violin player. He was back in the tail section.
Richard Dreyfuss, who went on to win an Oscar.
Not the same one. The other Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
And they, and then we had a little bit of gear back there. All the heavy duty stuff was in trucks, and that all went to the gigs.
Right.
So that was already on the road. It was probably already set up by the time we were even leaving Ithaca.
Okay.
And we're flying out to Stony Brook, Long Island, and the Fran turns to move or something like that, and jogs open the handle of the door the door handle on the
On the plane.
Yeah, now the plane, you're going, I don't know, 150, 200 miles an hour
yeah.
in a little Cub, a single engine plane. But so it closes the door. It's not like you're gonna push it open and drop out.
The wind is
but it was loud. It was like the seal has been broken. And there's a certain the pilot now really there's a bit of a he's got to jog it a little bit because now there's a difference in the aerodynamics of the plane.
Yeah.
But he tells what are we going to do? He says, Fran, you're going to have to hold the door shut as tight as you can so I can control the plane a little bit better. So McKendry had to, for about a half hour, he's holding on the door. But I mean,
And then did you take over?
No,
did you have to hold it? You didn't have to hold it close?
I was behind him. I let him do all the heavy lifting.
Oh, good for you.
That was his thing.
I thought you held the door
He
closed.
dealt it. He was going to have to deal with it.
That's funny.
That was it was a little scary.
That's barnstorming days.
We had a two engine plane that same year. In December, we went out and played in Cleveland, and it was snowy. Morning, and there was ice buildup on this plane. Ooh. And it was like freezing rain, and that was the most dangerous I'd ever been in because my uncle had actually died in he was on a commercial private flight for J&J where he worked, a bunch of scientists, and he went down in very similar circumstances, just the ice on the wings. Can build up and completely
and then
drop
most
like a
people
rock.
will cancel the flight, but you're going to a gig, and so who calls the shots there? Fran McKendry, and says we have to take this flight, or
the pilot. The
pilot
pilot said, I think if we get above a certain deck, we're going to be okay. And of course, I'm here to laugh about it now. Otherwise, what kind of a guest would I be? I'd be horrible. You would have had to have dug me up.
It would have been like Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, here's that stiff Fred.
That's really amazing and scary at the same time.
But that Don Kirshner story though was that was the pilot for the long series that I guess he was pitching it, but it was Blood, Sweat and Tears played in the New Hope.
The pilot episode, not the pilot who flew.
No, different kind of pilot.
And that was the first one, and then he sold it.
Right. In Wordle, by the way, pilot is spelled both ways. They're both spelled the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm joking. That was
no. And the fact is, he did not appear in the first one, which is the best one.
Yeah.
So after that, he came out with his cardboard, and that was Cheap Trick.
Well, I think they probably got a format, but for this it was who was it again? It was that
Blood, Sweat and Tears. Seals and
Crofts were on the canal
they
barge.
Did the canal,
they were on a
They did the
barge.
canal, and I thought that's got to be Switzerland.
Yeah.
And there they were.
But there's a real fun video now that's on from Old Grey Whistle Test. When we were in the UK, in London, we played, the BBC had a weekly show, and everybody who was on that, the next day they were a star, and that actually happened to us. We were playing with moderate audiences. Live music was pretty popular back then, any place. But after that Sunday night on Old Grey Whistle Test, the houses were packed. We saw you on TV. So it was one of those things.
The power of TV.
It was. But there's a
Steve Martin hosted Saturday Night Live, and he had been playing to crowds of 1,000 at the most, and that was good. That was a decent living, and he was making. And he said the Monday after Saturday Night Live, he said he heard this commotion out there, and he says to the guy, the backstage manager, how many people are out there? The guy goes 11,000.
Wow.
He went from 1,000 to 11,000 overnight because of Saturday Night Live.
We had Andy Kaufman when I was with McKendry. Oh, anyway, I was going to say on Old Grey Whistle Test, there is a cool clip.
Right.
And you can see me. I look like the son I might have had I been probably like my grandson now. And I mean, it looks ridiculous to see, but
I will look it up.
It's fun.
YouTube never dies.
But when we used to play my father's place on Long Island, that was in Old Roslyn. It was a formidable nightclub for rock music, and that sort of thing.
I've heard of it many times.
The
yes.
opener was Andy Kaufman.
Oh.
And he did his Mighty Mouse Man. He did
Yeah.
all of the stuff. He was breaking in all the material.
He
that
did Foreign
eventually-
Man.
That he yep.
Thank
he
you
did them
very
all.
much. Yes.
He did all of that stuff, and backstage he was in such a disconnect. He was in his own private world, his own demon world, whatever it was.
no.
But there was no talking to him. I don't even remember if when I greeted him, if he greeted me back, or if I even cared to greet him. I don't remember what it was, but this was one strange dude.
The amount of gigs, the amount of mileage, and I'm going to ask you to speak more of some of those gigs. We're going to do a song, and tell me if I know you've done gigs with Jesse Winchester. It's not that you've played with him, but you've done gigs where you shared the stage with him, and I assume he was a nice guy backstage and a Southern gentleman.
He was very nice. The only time I remember playing with him, and we're going to play a song of his now, because I
Yeah.
think we actually used to play this with Rex and Neil too, with Aztec Two Step.
yes.
We used to cover this.
I know. I heard you do it.
And
yeah.
He was. The Aztec had a 15th anniversary show
Right.
at University of Connecticut, and again, it was a snowy day in March. It was on the verge of being canceled at various times throughout the day. Rex was the producer, so he had. He just had the burden of the whole thing fall on
Rex
him.
of Aztec Two
Rex
Step,
of Aztec. And so by the time we actually did our segment, which was the big closing number of, well, the whole last segment, he was a frazzle. But and one of the things that did it is that on that bill was Livingston Taylor,
yes.
and it was Jesse Winchester, and it was Jonathan Edwards. And right, is there a Jonathan Edwards clip on there? I believe.
I think so.
And then David Bromberg.
Yes.
And Jesse Winchester had just come back to the United States from being in Canadian exile,
Right.
to protest the Vietnam War.
Right.
Well, the government, the IRS still had a bill for a tax bill for him, even though he had changed his his Canadian. So they were waiting in it. They had already they were at the show, and Rex couldn't tell Jesse that the check he was going to receive was going to be handed over to a federal agent at the end of the night.
Oh my gosh.
And so Rex had, that's a big kahuna.
There's all kinds of pressures on you when you do
kind
that.
of keep under your hat.
I remember Rex talking about this song. He said it's one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. We're going to do it for you now. But first, I want to say hi to Terry. Good to see you. Roger and Arlene are here. Good to see you. Denise lives in South Carolina. We miss you, Denise, but glad to see you on Facebook and in the chat room here. And Jesse Winchester's first album was recorded in Woodstock. And I think this is when we really started to notice him through this song, which is called Yankee Lady. I live with the decent folks in the hills of old Vermont, where what you do all day depends on what you want. And I took up with a woman there, and I was still a kid, and I shine like the sun to think of the loving that we did. She wrote each morning and went to work, and she kept me with her pay. I was making love all night, playing guitar all day, and I've got me apple cider and homemade bread to make a man say but I know I had to go. So I left that Vermont town with a lift to Mexico. And now when I see myself as a stranger to my birth, Yankee lady's memory reminds me of my worth. Yankee lady so good to me. Yankee lady just a memory. Yankee lady so good to me. Memory is enough for me. What a pleasure to
Chugga-boom.
play
Yeah.
with you.
Back
And
at
hear
you,
your
Chip.
stories.
Back at you. Right back at you.
That is a song that will get your attention, definitely. Brewer and Shipley recorded a nice version of that song, another duo besides Aztec Two-Step. Your favorite Aztec Two-Step song is the Highway song. We'll look that up afterwards. Your favorite car of all time is a Volvo that did you top out at what, 400,000 miles?
Oh, no, that was more like 550 on that
What?
first one. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say lower, but you had 300,000 miles on it when I was hanging with you.
Yeah, that one really went a long way.
It was a black Volvo.
It was a red Volvo.
Well, it was a red Volvo, but I mean, didn't you get it painted red? Did you?
No, I had a gold. It was the 170 series. The
Okay.
What was it? 172, I think it was. I think that was what it was called. 74, 160. Oh, 164. A 1972 164, a 1974 164.
Yeah.
One of them was gold, and I had that painted red. Like the first Volvo that I had was the 142 series. Nasty little bugger that I bought like 1 year old, and it was already needing a valve job and everything else. Bought it from a guy in Manhattan. It was listed in the Sunday Times, and that was a regrettable 40 years of Volvo ownership,
Yeah.
one way or another.
But you
Volvo for life
used
was
to
like
drive to all the gigs when the band, whoever it was, and now including Richie Havens. So you would drive to the gigs. You and Donna would drive to the gigs.
By this time she was teaching, I was driving by myself. I would
Okay.
just go from Staten Island, and
You saw the country a lot more.
a bit.
than you would if you were crashed out on the bus.
I was just saying to Cynthia today, it was Neil and I drove together, and he put in a lot of road miles, even the times that I wasn't with them. I was with them 74 to 76, 82 to 86, and then in the 90s, and then again the 2000s into like until 2018. That was my last gig at McClune's in Asbury Park with Neil had already he had lost his wife that year, and so he was out, and I had brought in John Corba, and so it was Rex, John Corba, and myself at McClune's in December of 2018. Was
still a thriving club.
And it turned out to be my last gig. It just wasn't. I really was missing Neil. Neil was a guy. He was the guitar player in Aztec, and he
Great guitar player,
and great songwriter also. And he was a road. He knew every. I was saying to Cynthia, not just the rest stops. He knew every exit on the Merritt Parkway, Connecticut Turnpike, Mass Pike, Maine, all up through New Hampshire and Maine. If you got off at any one, or we needed to get gas, whatever, he would say, well, not only is there this here, but there's one of the greatest pizza places that you're going to find in the state of Maine. And
That's great.
so there was that. He knew where to stay. He remembered the history of hotels that had once been this, and now it's a Holiday Inn Express, complete.
What a great guy to be traveling with.
It was fun, and as I say, I just couldn't. That was my time out too.
Yeah.
I was already past. What was I past 70 already? I guess, or about 70. And I just thought, that's a good thing. I'm done.
Tell me if you remember this. It's so juvenile that I would bring this up, but you played at Freddie's one night with some band.
Oh yeah,
It might have been the Desperate Men.
No, Freddie's was with Bittersweet.
Bittersweet, okay.
Yeah.
And you had gotten your Volvo painted like a week or so ago.
Yeah.
Red.
And
but it had 350,000 miles on it.
That was a red.
It looked new.
Yeah.
It looked new. And for some stupid reason, I just decided to put a sign on your car before I left that said wet paint. You probably thought it was some teenage
pranksters,
vandals, teenage pranksters.
Of which there are so many in Bernardsville, right? Yeah.
I can't let the opportunity go by. I have to ask you about your time playing with the great Jerry Jeff Walker, who wrote Mr. Bojangles, and we're going to do it for you tonight, gang, out there. George is checking in with something. You haven't lived until you travel around in a Volvo. Yeah, with an Ampeg
544
and two other guys.
Oh, yeah.
Steve E said the George Washington Bridge. Oh, you broke down on the George. Oh.
Broke down on the bridge in Stevensville. He and his bride.
Thanks,
had to
Rob.
push it through the toll. Oh, man.
Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks, Paula and Jim. You guys are responding. Roger and Arlene are in the house. Jamie's in the house.
Yeah.
Think of a story, but first we'll play his most classic song. And how many times have you played this song? 150?
I don't know.
It's the one.
I'll tell you this before we go, is that if somebody got really obnoxious and asked for it, even sometimes it was as little as once in the night, but if it was more than once, Jerry Jeff took that as a demand instead of a request.
Yeah, as an insult.
And he wouldn't do the song.
Oh,
so there were shows that would go by, and we did beautiful music. Everything he did was beautiful. Jerry, this song is fantastic, but a show without this was like Aztec Two-Step doing a show without the Highway Song. It was something that fans would grouch about, but there's nothing. He was a little cantankerous.
That's funny.
Yeah, he wouldn't do it.
And because of that, in memory of him, I'm not going to do it tonight. No, we'll do it. No.
I like your thinking, kid. I like it.
And of course, David Bromberg has an incredibly good version of this song, which is a true story. I knew a man, Bojangles, and he danced for you in worn-out shoes. Silver hair, ragged shirt, and baggy pants. The old soft shoe. He jumped so high, and he lightly touched down. I met him in a cell in New Orleans. I was down and out. He looked to me to be the eyes of age as he spoke right out. He talked of life, he talked of life. He laughed, slapped his leg and said, he said the name Bojangles and he danced a bit across the cell. He grabbed his pants, a better stance, oh he jumped so high, clicked his heels. dog up and died. He up and died. After 20 years he still grieves. He said I dance now at every chance in honky-tonks for drinks and tips. But most of the time I spend behind these county bars as I drinks a bit. Shook his head, and as he shook his head, I heard someone ask me, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles.
You can't cover the mistakes like I was making there. That's a fact, and you could do it. It happened even if you. It's sometimes I said this to you. Sometimes the simplest songs are the ones that, if you're losing track of where you are, you're goofing around or whatever. That whole thing about that turnaround with the Mr. Bojangles, the chorus is like. How do you know that's coming?
And he played it a different way.
He did play it a little
He played this once. I heard a version when I was at college, and the DJ at Lafayette College said that this was a version that he recorded when he was drunk. And he did this. He did this sad,
unusual.
bittersweet chord in the chorus, and he went, Mr. Bojangles.
Yeah, that's the way I just played it.
Oh.
So we might have been playing it like that live.
Bojangles. It's beautiful. I went back to the old David Bromberg thing, and then it goes to this. Yeah. Cynthia loved it.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Thanks, Rob. Yes, we've been getting nice compliments on it, so don't fret. Pardon the pun. Before we went on the air tonight,
what pun?
I told Fred about a friend of mine, studio owner and musician Mike Lozinski. He called me one time and said, "Can you play bass for this picnic that we're going to do?"
There you go.
And I had played bass since I was 14 years old, but only on recordings. I never played a live gig, and they had a bass for me there. I don't think I even brought my bass. And I seem to remember it was like an SG bass or something. And they had an amp. And I went to this thing just thinking, this is a breeze. And it was the most scared I ever was on a gig. It was excruciating. I realized that's why they call it a Fender Precision bass, because if you don't hit the notes precisely right, as guitar players, we get used to hitting, we can do that and cover up. If you do that on bass, it's a complete train wreck.
But there's a finesse to it. I mean, George is a bass player. A couple of the people here would probably have noticed some clams that I was, but. Even people who play in symphonic type of players, accomplished violinists and stuff, a lot of them get through. A lot of them aren't playing. They have a way of finessing around screwed up reading. If they've read it and they've played it improperly, the sign of a pro is being able to recover from it,
Yeah,
and still be where you are, and to actually pretend it didn't happen.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
for me, pointing out that I flubbed it, or that I always did
Well.
with Jerry Jeff. That's
An unusual amount of candor as a bass player.
Neither here nor there, right? And it is an unusual amount. It doesn't need to be heard by the kitchen staff, the kitchen viewers.
The kitchen viewers. That's okay. We're all about relaxation, and this is the way we would play in our living room, except the difference being that we wouldn't play in our living room anymore. When we get together now, we just talk.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't. We've played, so many gigs, etc.
But you have been.
Jam that
I just
much.
want to say though, there was one story that you've been telling.
I probably got wrong.
Telling it wrong.
Yeah.
And that is the one you've been sort of previewing my special guest appearance.
Yeah.
By talking about Jerry Jeff Walker having been on stage at the
At the roller rink, you weren't there.
well,
for that?
it was the Schaefer Center. It was
Right.
the ice skating rink.
Right, the ice skating rink.
And that was back in the 70s or so, and he went over and threw up off stage and came back.
And then came back.
That we didn't. I played there with either. I think it was with
What a topic.
with Aztec Two Step. And it's the only time I played there. And where we played opening, I think, for Bromberg or somebody like that. Jerry, the story that you tell is the exact story about oh my God, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Joe Cocker.
Yeah.
That's his story.
Oh.
He owns that story.
Oh, he owns.
You'll have to talk to him about the copyright on that story.
He owns that.
Jerry Jeff he's no longer with us to defend himself on this.
Right.
And again,
right.
he may have played there, but I wasn't there. And at the same time, truth be told, he may have done that.
He did do that. He did. I read it somewhere. I read it in a New York Times review.
But that was.
But I thought it was you on the gig.
No.
Oh. Do you know what they call that in Australia? This is a complete non sequitur that's fueled by caffeine. They call barfing, which we have 100 in America. We have 100 euphemisms. Worshipping at the porcelain god, all these euphemisms.
Right.
In Australia, they call it the Technicolor yawn.
Ooh. Classy.
Now, we have so many stories, but we've got some great songs, and I know both of us have loved this song for a long time. So and I have to do it in G. G is our key. We used to play it, and were you in the band that we had at O'Connor's that had Steve, what's his name, who was the drummer for Bromberg for a while? Steve, what was his last name? Anyway, he was the best drummer for this song that I've ever played with.
No.
He played it with brushes. This is Can't Find My Way Home, folks, by Blind Faith.
Okay.
And
first time I'm playing this, by the way. So this is.
So you weren't the bass player on that gig.
Well.
So we got an
that's the
encore
other,
this one night, Fred, and he had his drum set out in the car before the encore had even happened. He had it. You can tell when somebody's got one foot out of music. And you said, when Neil left Aztec Two Step, that was kind of your cue to leave.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I'll think of his name, Bernstein. Anyway, his 12-year-old son had a birthday party the next day, and he was like, I have to get home and get some sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Steve, we're getting an encore. I can't do an encore without drums and just say that. So he ended up, okay, he left his snare and his bass drum up. He had all the other hardware. He didn't bring it back in, and he just played the final song on that. But let's take a shot at this.
Just a quick non sequitur here.
Yeah.
The thing about was I there or wasn't I there? I have probably a short, quick, whatever. My late wife and I owned a Montessori school. She had taught there from 78. We owned it from 1998. Yeah. She passed away in 2009. So we owned it. We took, but she had parents, wonderful families came here, and so the one family, this one woman had 3 boys, and they're coming to school one day, and for whatever reason, now my late wife's name was Donna. She might have said, Fred played opened for the Byrds, which was the truth. We played a number of gigs. We opened in different bands. I opened for Fleetwood Mac, for Slade, all these people. But the Byrds. So one day they're on the way to school, and a Byrds song comes on the radio, and she says to the kids in the back seat, they're all strapped in. She says, "Freddie played with the Byrds." And the kids were astonished. That's fantastic. We're hearing him on the radio. This is marvelous.
Yeah. And then you have to let them down.
I didn't let them down.
Oh, okay.
What I'm thinking is that, for the brain power that I have left, that I had even in my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, now my 70s, it's like, I don't know. Maybe I did play with the. I think I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to deny it. Maybe I was with the Byrds.
Why take away a great story?
People used to come and say all over New England. They'd come and they'd be talking to us afterwards. I saw you in 1972 at this place, and I'm thinking, geez, maybe yes, maybe no, but I just. And then they saw me when the group had gone on beyond me. So after 76, they had a whole 5-piece band of drug addicts. It was crazy. They were on the road all over. But people have said, I saw you in this period. And it's like, I'm not gonna deny it.
Don't deny it.
So I'm thinking, okay, Richie Havens, Aztec Two-Step, McKendree Spring, Jerry Jeff.
Yeah.
Byrds. Why not?
Put it on your resume.
Exactly.
Now, echoing that sentiment.
Yeah.
Livingston Taylor told me about a flight that he took, a commercial flight, and he flies his own plane. But the lady sat down next to him, and she just started raving. I love everything you've ever done. I've come to your concerts before.
Holy crap.
And I especially love your song Fire and Rain.
Oh, man.
So she's just going on, so can I have your autograph? And he's like, okay. Oh. James Taylor, he writes. He said, Chip, why should I burst her bubble? He goes, I'm his brother. That's close enough.
Good enough.
That's good
Absolutely.
enough. Well, the time is racing by as I knew it would. We're going to play this.
I forget what we're playing.
We're playing I Can't Find My Way Home.
Oh, boy.
Just jump in when you feel like it. I'm gonna, crank that bass up, brother. So, in all honesty, this is really the Bonnie Raitt version. I'm doing that as opposed to the Blind Faith version, and it goes like this. That's a B flat to a C. Yeah. Come down off your throne and leave your body alone. Somebody must change. You are the reason I've been waiting so long, baby. Somebody holds the key. Gee, well, I'm near the end and I just ain't got the time. And I'm wasted and I can't find my way home. Come down on your own and leave your money at home. Somebody must change. You are the reason I've waited all these years. Somebody holds a key. Well, I'm near the end and I just ain't got the time. And I'm wasted and I can't find my way home. I still can't find my way home. Ooh, still I can't find my way home. And I can't find my way home. Back to B flat. And I can't find my way home. Still I can't find my way home. And I ain't done nothing wrong, no, no, no. Still I can't find my way home. Oh, what a joy, what a pleasure
You
to
bet.
play that song. I am going to pull out the nuclear guitar for the last song. I've got it set up. I got a Les Paul Sunburst here,
Oh boy.
and we're going to play a song that Fred and I once played together in my house in Watchung, New Jersey, and Fred said, and I'll never forget, Fred said, that's my favorite song of all time. And I said, yeah, it's pretty much my favorite song.
Yeah,
too.
it could well be.
Yeah, and my reverb went off, and then it went on, big time. I sound like Dick Dale, the surf guitar player.
That would be an interesting take on this song.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Let me get it. I'm just gonna monkey around with things. We're not wildly over time, but thank you, dear brother. Thank you for coming out here.
Brother from another mother.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
Sir.
It was a total blast, as I knew it would be. You're welcome anytime. Love
Thank
to
you, Chip.
Cynthia.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
The pleasure's all mine. We're hearing from people and they're liking it, and we hope that encourages you, friends, to go up and investigate the virtual tip jar, as we call it. And this is a viewer-supported endeavor, this show. I might just crank this thing. I'm sorry. You got to crank a little bit. That's too much. I'm overdriving the mic. But this is the song, and this lick that we're going to play, this lick is not in the Robert Johnson version. This lick was written and invented by the bass player of Cream. So this iconic etched in stone lick
Jack Bruce.
is by Jack Bruce. That's
Whoa.
right. So,
My favorite, yeah, probably
Yeah.
favorite thing of
oh, wild.
favorite
man.
group.
So thanks again, Freddie.
You're welcome, Chip.
Thank you, all of
Thank
you in
for
the
having
chat
me.
room.
Thank
God
you,
bless
chatters.
you. There's Jamie. Jamie, we'll talk soon. You and I and Fred have to do another trio gig one of these days. In the meantime, I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees. I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees. I asked the Lord above for mercy, save me if you please. I went down to the crossroads, tried to flag it right. Down to the crossroads and I tried to flag it right. Nobody seemed to know me, they just passed me by. Going down to Rosedale with my Retta by my side. I'm going down to Rosedale with my Retta by my side. We can still barrel house, baby, down by the riverside. Run, you can run, tell my friends all around. Run, you can run, tell my friends all around that I'm standing at the crossroads. I believe I'm sinking down. All right.
Okay, rocking on the river.
We'll get kicked out of this neighborhood yet. God bless you all. Good to see you. See you next time. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Steve. I think Jenny and Steve might come here to the kitchen before the end of June, so we'll have another guest. Arlene, thanks a lot. Raj, thanks a lot. Steve E. We're cooking in the
Stevie.
kitchen. You got it right. Bye, Jamie. Bye, everybody. Have a great night, a great weekend, a great Father's Day, and we'll catch you on the flip-flop.